We asked Congressman Boebert to come on the show. She's got a great sense of humor. I think if she were going to do a media outlet, this would be the one that she should do to talk about what has turned into a huge fake faux rage incident, Buck. Yeah, I used to use the term faux rage a lot, where people just pretend to get outraged by something that they actually don't really care about very much. And the idea that you could be someone who was fine with Bill Clinton getting a blowjob from an intern, and you're like, hey, we've got to make sure that he stays in office, as many Democrats were. And then you could simultaneously come out and say, but this Lauren Boebert behavior during the Beetlejuice musical is completely unacceptable. And that is what a lot of them have argued. And we talked about it the other day with the Virginia State House candidate who had the sex tape. Howard Stern, Buck, who used to put lesbians on the radio having sex live on air, came out and said that Lauren Boebert's behavior during the Beetlejuice musical was completely unacceptable. And I'm paraphrasing him here. And Lauren Boebert, I think, got caught by TMZ. The offer to come on this show stands out, but I was reading the transcript on this, and it's actually pretty funny. Here's Lauren Boebert, Buck, responding to the controversy surrounding her behavior. I can't believe this is a real story. During a Beetlejuice musical performance.
Ultimately, all future date nights have been canceled, and I learned to check party affiliations before you go on a date. But all in all, it was mostly a lovely time, and I've taken responsibility for my actions. Would love to know how the musical ended, and I encourage people to go and see it. But it was a great time back in the district, seeing voters and.
So how are the voters taking it? How are the voters taking it right now? Are they understanding at this moment?
Yeah, there's a lot of folks who are certainly understanding, and they understand that it was a part of my personal life, my private time, something that I rarely indulge in.
You made a comment, check party affiliations before you go on a date. I guess the guy was a Democrat. So you could argue that was her first mistake.
First of all, that's a funny line. I wonder how the musical ended. I give credit to her. I think she's got a pretty good sense of humor. Buck, Howard Stern is afraid to leave his apartment because of COVID. He stayed in his apartment for 2+ years. He basically wants lockdowns to return. And now he's outraged by behavior on a date and thinks that because of the outfit that Boebert was wearing and because of what happened on the date, that she shouldn't be able to represent the state of Colorado. That's what he argued on his show. And we had some clips, but the clips are evidently not able to be aired on regular radio. To me, Howard Stern is a great example of someone that used to be, I think he used to consider himself a Republican, whatever you think about that. Yes.
Really? No.
Yeah, I think he did.
I was never a listener. I was a Rush listener. I did not make time for this Mr. Howard Stern fellow.
I appreciated and thought many Howard Stern clips were funny over the years. I think he's a talented radio guy. But I think actually his trajectory is so interesting and evocative of what's happened to the left in this country. Because whatever you think of Howard Stern, he used to be a rebel. FCC was always after him. He was always in danger of losing money, losing his show, violating the rules and promulgations associated with radio.
He said he is, in the past, probably a Republican if you look at some of the issues that he cares about. I don't know what that really means, but sure.
I think he talked about running as a Republican. I bet there's people who listen to us now that used to be Howard Stern listeners. I am very confident of that because Stern's path, Buck, has been from I'm an outsider, I am a idiosyncratic, interesting thinker who is not in the mainstream, to becoming the most dogmatic enforcer of the people in positions of power. Wear a mask, don't leave your house. Oh my goodness, can you believe what that girl is wearing? He's now everything that he used to hate. And this is, I think, Buck, really important for people out there listening. Republicans have, for the first time in my life, and I wrote about this a lot in my book, an opportunity to actually be the party that is pro full flourishment of creativity. The left has become so dogmatic in its enforcement of what's acceptable to say and do that just by being a party that likes jokes, just by being a party that is pro, hey, wear a sexy dress and go on a date if you want, that's how I think you go back and reclaim some of these voters that have been lost, particularly younger people, because they don't want to be the part. Young people on some level enjoy rebelling. And the idea that the left in this country has become the school marms, the people wagging their fingers and saying, oh my goodness, you can't do this or you can't do that, is something that I never would have believed would happen in my life. And I think Howard Stern is emblematic of that trajectory because he's become everything that he used to claim to hate.
Look, all you have to know is if somebody is as crazy about COVID as he is, you can't trust their judgment on anything anymore. They have become effectively, overtaken by an anxiety disorder, and that affects their ability to see the world, I think, very, very broadly, especially when you start talking about policy and politics. Look, on the Lauren Boebert thing, one thing that sticks out to me is they're trying to run now. They're trying to say that that she's effectively committed a crime. I mean, I don't even like to. This is something else that they like to do, and this you see this on the left. They're the same people. I will point this out. The same people who are writing, and these are, I think up on the Drudge Report right now, which used to be like one of my favorite websites, and unfortunately it has gone over to it has abandoned the force and has joined the dark side. But I think there's a story up there about how maybe Lauren Boebert, broke a law or something.
It's true.
The same people who will go along with that and say something like that, and there's a whole lot of other cases or allegations against people that are on the right or in some way out of favor with the left. Those same voices will be the ones that are shouting at you for having any problem with grown men in fishnets and thongs dancing in front of little kids at drag queen these drag queen brunches that they were doing for a while. So Lauren Boebert, consenting adults, she's getting they're getting a little handsy. I don't believe anything was exposed. That they're saying might be a crime, but the same voices on the left that will try to say, oh, we should look at that as some kind of a violation of statute maybe, are the same people that think that kids should be at these drag, you know what I mean? Like they use these things as a weapon. There's no decency. There's no foundational ethics or morality that they draw upon for these distinctions. It's just the other team we will destroy and our team we will defend. And, I think you see that to the point about Howard Stern and saying, he's kind of weird, but I don't know what his politics really are. But the people that are attacking Lauren Boebert for this, to your point, are the same people who are fine with the Virginia state rep.
20 years ago even, if Howard Stern saw a picture of Lauren Boebert in that dress, he would have said, my goodness, this is the best looking congresswoman on the planet. Why isn't she in the Senate? Why isn't she running for president? He would have talked about how good looking she was as evidence of why he cared about her, right? Now, the dress that she's wearing is so unacceptable that she shouldn't be able to represent the state of Colorado. I mean, I would think this is a crazy trajectory, and I don't think Howard Stern is alone in it, Buck. The people who would have gone to Woodstock.
Can you explain to me why is Howard Stern upset about this? Given that you think that he's kind of a Republican, like why is he like this?
No, I think he has said in the past that he was a Republican. I think that he has so gone left, and so I almost think that he's afraid of some of the jokes that he's made in the past, and he's like falling down on his hands and knees, begging to not get canceled.
Do you think COVID might have switched the circuitry in his brain? Because I think that's happened to other people, where they've gone full leftist because COVID broke them.
I think that has certainly accelerated. I think Trump started to break him. I think he is a representation of someone in creative space who prior to Trump had somewhat reasonable, insane perspectives. And the thing is here, Buck, that I think is so important, and you kind of hit on it. We talked about it yesterday. there is a principle. If you are out there listening to us right now, and your principle is, I don't want for people who engage in acts of immorality, right? Whether it's Bill Clinton, whether it's in Lauren Boebert on a much smaller scale, right? If your perspective is personal behavior matters deeply to you and you would not want to vote, there's some people out there, Buck, who don't want to vote for somebody who's gotten divorced, right? Like this has been an issue before. Like if personal morality is of extreme importance to you, I understand that. But I think you have to apply it consistently. And if it isn't, then I think you look at it on a case-by-case basis and say, okay, is this acceptable or not?
And this is what I meant about especially allegations that involve anything that is in the realm of, sex, sexuality, these sorts of things.
Yeah.
Joe Biden was accused by a Senate staffer of sexual assault. On the record, by name, knew him, was
very
around
detailed
him
for years.
And it is never brought up by the same people who will say that the E. Jean Carroll allegations are obvious. They'll say it's obviously true and the whole thing. They never bring it up because morality to them is a joke. It's just the pretense of morality that can be used as a weapon.
Yes.
And I think we see that against a lot of people these days. And it is the leftist authoritarians who are the most vicious, who will cast out presumption of innocence. The Kavanaugh effect, I've called it, comes to mind as well. This is something that people need to really think long and hard about because this becomes a situation where, you're going to serve in public. You're going to serve in public life. You're a member of Congress. If people are going to throw the book at you for what, really? Vaping and, heavy petting or whatever they call it. I don't know what, I'm not sure what the technical phrase is, but yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, it is a non-entity. And yet, because she's a Republican, it is a monster story. And by the way, I would just encourage everybody out there listening, figure out what your own personal line is and try to apply an even standard regardless of the politician.
Wasn't there a Democrat female member of Congress who was having like a threesome with the staffers and then she said that it was like persecution because she's a woman. You know what I'm talking about? Wasn't that a thing?
I think she was a California congresswoman.
That's right.
She lost her seat, right?
She did.
There were sex tapes or nude photos or whatever that came out of her.
Yeah.
And so, I look at that and
I'm saying Democrats defended that, though. They said that it was sexist that she was being...
The perfect example is this Virginia Republican who was taking money to engage in sex acts on camera. And then when the story came out that she had done that, she said she was a victim of revenge porn. It's like, no, if you are a porn star, it isn't a crime for people to decide to factor in that you are a porn star and whether they want to vote for you or not. Like if you are, and I don't know what the definition of star is, but if you are in a porno, if you're having sex for money on camera, to me, you are a porn star, right? Like that is, you have chosen to engage in pornography. That is very much in the public zeitgeist. I think that's very reasonable for any voter in Virginia to consider. Now, maybe that makes you more likely to vote for him. I think that would be crazy, but you have that right. But the idea that she can be a victim and that you should still vote for her in Virginia, and meanwhile Lauren Boebert should be kicked out of Congress, there's no way to make those two arguments and have a coherent, functional brain.